What is up guys, and welcome back to another video. Today we'll be trying the most expensive meat in the world, Wagyu meat. At this point I want to give Palm Beach Meats a huge shout out. Without them the video would not have been possible. They provided the meat. Palm Beach Meats is a new founded company of a friend of mine who focuses on importing the best quality meat from Japan and Australia. So when you're in the South Florida area, go check them out. Link is in the description down below. And yeah, I just can recommend to try one of their steaks. Let's get into this video. Wagyu is considered one of the most expensive meat in the world. But what is Wagyu? Wagyu is Japanese and literally translated to cow. It also describes one of the 4 cattle breeds in Japan. There are more, but only 4 are considered Wagyu beef. Well, I'm sure you all heard of Kobe meat. This is nothing else but Wagyu cattle that has been bred in Kobe, which is a region in Japan. But there's other regions that also breed Wagyu, such as Kogishima, where this meat is coming from. So what is it that makes Wagyu so special? Besides the genetics, a point we're going to talk about in a little bit, it's the way they are brought up and bred. Farmers emphasize a stress-free living condition for their cattle, which includes frequent health checks, water supply checks, noise checks, while there are some farmers that actually massage their cattle. A special focus is on the diet though, because Wagyu is a fatty meat, as you can see, has a lot of intramuscular fat. So to achieve this, the cows need to be fed frequently and over the progress of a longer time than regular cattle. When it comes to quality, Wagyu is probably the highest regulated meat there is. There are several categories and standards. The most common rating is scoring, which describes intramuscular fat, which pretty much means fat dispersion in lean meat. As you can see right here, the marbling or scoring is very high. There's a lot of thin fat stripes within the lean meat mass. So the higher the scoring, the fattier the meat and the juicier it is. A Wagyu ribeye or strip, for example, what we have here, a New York strip, falls in the higher end of the scoring between 10 and 12, which 12 is the highest, and therefore reaches a meat grade of A5, which means that the lean meat is marbled with fat and very juicy and tender. You might ask though, how is it possible to have a super fatty meat that is high quality? Because personally, I always thought that the fatty parts of the meat are the cheaper ones, because my experience with normal beef was that the fatty parts are rubbery, chewy, and kind of really disgusting. I cannot stand it. So yeah, I was wondering, how is fatty meat desirable? Wagyu is more fatty than regular beef to begin with, so even its lean meat is marbled more, meaning it has more fat in it than regular beef. It is that fat that makes it high quality, because fat does not just equal fat. Fat can have different fatty acids that have different chemical structures, and depending on these structures, the meat has a different texture and different health effects on you. Not going in too deep, but just to generally distinguish between the different fatty acids. We have monounsaturated fatty acids, polyunsaturated fatty acids, saturated fatty acids, and trans fats. While monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fatty acids are generally considered healthy fats, saturated fats are not necessarily bad but should not be overconsumed, and trans fats are fats that should be completely avoided. Regular beef is usually high in saturated fats and thus should be consumed mindfully. However, the fat composition depends on the breed. It has been established that the fat in Wagyu cattle is considerably different than the fatty acids in regular cattle. Their fat has a higher percentage of the healthier mono and polyunsaturated fatty acids. This is a really interesting point because it not only has positive health effects, but also it has an effect on consistency and taste. The high percentage of these mono and polyunsaturated fatty acids lead to a lower melting point of the fat, and thus the fat is less rubbery and more buttery. So it contributes to softness, tenderness, and juiciness without giving you this rubbery feeling a fatty steak would usually have. We did talk about all the pros of that meat, but let's talk about money. Yes, Wagyu meat is considered the most expensive cow meat in the world due to its high production cost in terms of raising the cattle. You heard it's living longer than regular cattle. It also is being fed more often, and in general is provided a more comfortable living environment than just the regular US cattle. Just to give you a little idea of the price difference, so a Japanese Wagyu cow could be sold at an auction for up to $30,000. Keep in mind, for one cow. Whereas when, for example, Black Angus cows are sold, you probably won't be paying more than $3,000 for one cow. So that explains why you can pay up to $300 per pound for Wagyu meat. The question is it worth it though? And we're going to test that right now. We're finally getting to cook the meat now.
Oh, don't say that.
This is premium quality. Look at it.
Oh, that's not nice.
Oh no, hi. No, she knows what's up because apparently dogs love Wagyu or Wagyu. Sorry, there's multiple pronunciations, but however you want to say, dogs love Wagyu. And we are getting finally to the most interesting part. This grade A5 New York strip from Japan, Kagoshima in particular. And there's a few things you want to pay attention to when making steak at home. I mean, this is not meat you get at Walmart. This is premium quality meat. And honestly, it's not that hard to make it at home. Just follow a few simple steps. Starting with, don't cook it when it's cold, fresh out of the fridge. Take it out 30 minutes before you are actually cooking it to let it get to room temperature. That's what I did. Obviously that's personal preference, but this meat is so full of flavor that we literally only gonna put salt and pepper on it. And also when it comes to the fattier meats, you can either cook it as a whole steak or, to make it even easier, cut it in strips and grill it like that. I will probably cut it in strips just because we have a small pan. There is different pans that are best, probably stainless steel. For that steak that is fatty like this, you don't need any fat in the pan. You can just cook it in its own fat. So I'm going to heat up the pan. You probably want to heat it up medium to high heat so the meat gets a really nice crust. I'm gonna cut the meat and then I'll catch you when putting it in. Alright, so the pan is almost hot enough and I'm going to put the steak in. So the time you want to cook the meat depends on the cut and your preference. Personally, I fell in love with eating it rare, just searing the outside of the steak and having it raw inside, especially for the leaner meats. For this, I'm probably going to do it medium. So you put it in 1 to 2 minutes until it's really, really crusty. I'm super, super excited. Let's put this in. so here is our steak. It looks absolutely beautiful. It is obviously losing a lot of fat. So instead of tossing this fat, what you could do is make a homemade barbecue sauce. I didn't do that because I love to eat my steak as it is. But if you just put a little bit of hot sauce in there, a little bit of ketchup, and then chili, cayenne pepper, and a little bit of sugar, and then you stir it up, put onions in there too, let that simmer for a bit, and then put milk and flour. It's like a bechamel sauce, so it makes it thicker, and you will have the most bestest barbecue sauce. But yeah, here is the New York strip, and like I said, this is a type of meat I would usually never eat just because it's so fatty. Yeah, I'm going to show you right now how buttery it is and how amazing. And by the way, you guys, I forgot to mention, Palm Beach Meats actually delivers nationwide. You just go on their website and place an order via email. They also want to build a storefront, which is coming. But yeah, they would deliver anywhere. And also what is awesome is they're a startup, and to be compatible, they have super high quality meat, but they have really reasonable prices compared to what I saw online. So yeah, just give them a shot. We so appreciate it. But let me prove to you first that it's worth it. All right, so we have the strip, and it's just falling apart like butter. Did you see that? Did you see how buttery soft that is? This is insane. And keep in mind how fatty this meat was. This would usually be super stringy. But look, it's just, you just can tear it like butter. It is so soft. Let me try this finally. Oh my God. I can't describe to you how beautifully soft, tender, and flavorful this meat is. Like, the fat is not stringy, not disgusting, nothing at all. It's just like butter. Usually this would be a meat you want to cook medium to done because of the fat. So the fat melts and you're not left with stringy tissue. But you can see the fat inside. This is heaven. I always feel like we should eat less but better quality meat. And hearing the story about Wagyu and how the cattle is raised, I feel like this is meat I would probably eat once a month, maybe twice, and not buy any other meat. And just really focus on the quality, because of course it's pricey, but you pay the price for a good thing. Like, it really is the quality that you wouldn't get anywhere, or you really can't get anywhere. I also had I was lucky enough to be able to try the filet mignon. And it's a different kind of meat. Obviously it's not as rich, but it was so soft. It was the best steak I ever had, along with the rib eye and the strip. And I went to a couple steakhouses that had fantastic meat, but that was just, and I made it at home, which I think is a really good point, because usually what I thought, I'll never buy steak because it's difficult to really nail it, but it's actually pretty easy if you just have the right meat. Yeah, I definitely need to share that with Nate. So this is gonna be my last piece, but this was delicious. Oh my goodness. Again, huge shout out to Palm Beach Meats, because without them, I would have never tried Wagyu. And I would have never knew what I missed out on. Okay, one last piece. Last piece. The rest I gotta save. But yeah. Let me know, guys, Is there something else you want me to try? Some exotic, some super expensive, some super cheap food? Let me know. I think that was great. Again, huge shout out to Palm Beach Meats for making this possible, for introducing me to Wagyu. I never had that before and I will never go back. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm gonna put this away before I eat it all, and I catch you in the next video. Bye bye.